What's up, everybody? I'm Chris Dailey, founder of the Sports Court, joined here by none other than co-founder, co-owner, and ex-player of one of the hottest teams in all of American soccer, none other than David Dwaihy. Dave, thanks so much for joining the show.
For having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, and I didn't mention, but you're the co-owner of Detroit City FC, and Detroit City FC is one of the best amateur teams, now one of the best semi-pro teams, now one of the best professional teams in all of the USA. So Dave, growing up, you were a big soccer player and attended Kalamazoo University, where you had a great soccer career, were a 3-year MIAA first team player, and most importantly, met Sean Mann, who is also co-founder of DCFC. So what was your relationship like with Sean? And when you first met, how'd you guys decide, like, hey, let's come up with a soccer team 10 years later?
Yeah, it was one of those good examples of just kind of, life giving you an opportunity and saying yes at the right time. Sean and I, we went to school together. We were great apart, but we went to a really small liberal arts school where everyone kind of knew everyone. It was sort of like a college version of high school. And we had mutual friends, and so we were always aware of each other. And upon graduation, Sean got really involved in the city of Detroit. And in 2010, he started a co-ed adult rec league in the city, just as something to kind of a mechanism for organizing, getting people in neighborhoods to get to know each other, getting people to meet their neighbors. And he decided to use soccer as like the organizing principle. So he started this really chill recreational league, and the teams were basically organized by neighborhood. And he was living in the city proper. I was out in the suburbs, but he asked me, like, hey, do you want to come and be a guest player on our team? Like, he knew me well enough to know I might be interested in something like that. It was one of those times in life where if I had been like, no, I'm good or I'm too busy, crazy to think about how differently my life might have played out. But I'm happy to say that I said yes. I had just met my wife at the time, so it was a good opportunity for us to get into the city and meet some new people. And that rec league actually really took off. And it was through that Sean met three other guys who were on one of the other teams. And the five of us ended up being those, the founding five members of the minor league team. And so, that was kind of the genesis of it all. Sean had the idea. I think he had gone on like a business trip and met the owners of the Chattanooga team, and they were like, hey, you should join the NPSL. It's really accessible. So he kind of had that in the back of his mind, and then after meeting the four of us through that rec league, kind of thought, hey, we got a group here that might be able to launch something like this.
Yeah, that's amazing. And actually, after watching your documentary, I submitted an application when I was about 11 or 12 to the NPSL to start a team, and I got the packets and everything. And then they asked to go on a business call, and all of a sudden I said, hey, I have to pull out of this deal real quick. I can't do it anymore. My investors backed out. And just a little funny story there, but you mentioned how you played, and you played for that inaugural DCFC team, and you were nicknamed the Touch. So on the field, what was that original squad like? And secondly, how did you, Sean, and the other owners attract so many people to come watch a tiny little soccer team in the Motor City?
Yeah, as far as playing, it was something I didn't necessarily expect. My playing days were kind of numbered at that point. I was into my 30s already. Like you said, the team that we were able to assemble right off the bat was really competitive. We had the luxury of our first head coach was at the time an assistant coach at Michigan State University. So he was really plugged into the local college soccer scene. We had a lot of really strong local players from a variety of NCAA programs, divisions 1 through 3, NAIA. I mean, we just really had a cool hodgepodge of guys that lived in the area, a couple that were making a decent commute, but for the most part, that first team, that first summer was all like Metro Detroit based guys. It's kind of a testament to how much soccer talent there is in Michigan and in the country in general. There's so many good soccer players nowadays, but we had enough to put a team together, and I was fortunate to be in the fray. I was definitely kind of slowing down at that point, but they were kind to me and let me stick around and practice with the guys. And for me personally, it was actually a really great way to connect sort of the team to the ownership group. That was like the role that I took the most pride in. I registered the players, I got to know all the guys, but I was also able to report back to Sean and my partners on, things we might do to improve the experience for the players and all that sort of good stuff. So it was a role that I was really excited to pursue. And that was sort of my contribution to the group of five. I was the soccer guy. Sean was the politician that kind of saw the potential for the whole thing. We had a spreadsheet guy, a media guy, and a legal guy, and we were kind of the five-headed monster that put it together.
Yeah, that's what you need, the legal guy, everybody. So you need that to form a really great program. And you see a lot of soccer teams and just minor league teams. I look at the Lance and Ignite, who you might know of. They were in the area. And after 1 year, they folded after faking attendance, and there was a lot of issues with that. So that's why it's great that you guys had a solid structure, and it's really built into what it is today. And as I mentioned, Detroit City FC has attracted a lot of attention on and off the pitch for their success in the NPSL, and then off the pitch for the amazing fan base. And you see so many documentaries about the club. So how do you and the other owners really market DCFC and get people to come into the stadium and get these documentaries on you guys?
Yeah, and I realize I didn't fully answer your last question. I think in terms of the support that we got right off the bat, in some ways we were right place, right time. Detroit didn't really have a soccer team as such to latch onto, and I think there was a critical mass of people out there that just wanted to support a club. And I think the one thing that maybe we did well right off the bat was we gave a lot of freedom to the supporters. That initial group that's since grown into a really big group. We gave them the freedom to really we gave them a blank canvas and said, hey, like, you're as much a part of this as we are. We're all starting from scratch here, and make it what you want. And we lucked out in that group of people were super inclusive and creative and had a lot of energy. And so this thing that's grown organically really, really grew out of a lot of, generosity and inclusion. And I think that's always, the kind of the secret to success is to welcome everyone. And I'll steal a phrase from Sean. From early on, we tried to be the host of the party, not the life of the party. And so really all those supporters and their friends and then friends of friends came out. It just kind of grew because people were coming out, having a good time, and they could really kind of express their, creative ideas and connect to this community-based team that was sort of a new experience for them. I think that also kind of answers your most recent question. We've always kind of tried to abide by that philosophy where, as long as it's within the structure of whatever the league is asking, we try and give our supporters as much freedom as we can. And then it's also really helped that we've had some successful teams with some awesome, like, young men who are starting their soccer careers who have been accessible to those supporters. You look at professional athletics at the highest level, sometimes there's a barrier there. Whereas with Detroit City FC, I think, the supporters and the players were kind of one and the same. They got to be friends with each other. The players loved playing in front of a big crowd. The crowd loved the fact that the players would hang out and talk to them afterward. It was a really kind of like mutually beneficial situation and a very accessible situation for the supporters.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the success of the team, and in the city of Detroit, you see the Lions, the Pistons, and a lot of those professional teams really struggling, and all of a sudden you guys enter the picture, winning championships, and I feel like the fans, obviously, who doesn't want to see their home team win some silverware, and that's not just off the field, but on the field. Detroit City FC has been very good, which leads right into the next question, which is Detroit City FC is really the team to look out for, was the team to look out for in the NPSL before moving up to NISA, where you guys dominated. And the NISA is a really new growing league. So what are your personal thoughts about the NISA, and what was the most difficult part from a business standpoint in making that jump from NPSL to a fully professional league?
Yeah, NISA was a wonderful opportunity for us. We always kind of felt like when we were in NPSL that the length of season, as great as that league was and as accessible as it was, and it worked well for our early years, we kind of outgrew that, and we looked around and realized we need to be playing more games for a longer stretch of time because we have a lot of people who want that. A lot of our supporters were kind of thirsty for more, and we wanted to be able to provide more of the calendar devoted to games. And so the idea of NISA being an independent league, offering teams, an accessible entry fee, like, it really just kind of made sense that was going to be the next step for us. Certainly brought a lot of challenges, professionalizing a minor league team to the extent that we could required more staff. Financially, it's a bigger investment. And also, just trying to be competitive with those higher level teams, having been kind of like the the model that we had played in previously, it was college players in their off season, and now we're looking to find guys who are committed for a longer stretch of time. They need to kind of be out of college to be eligible for that professional status. So there are a lot of things we had to kind of grow into. But NISA gave us a wonderful platform to do that, and we had a really great experience in the league. But as you mentioned earlier, we've decided recently to make the jump to USL Championship, and really grateful for the experience that we had in NISA, but now excited for that next adventure in USL.
Yeah, and to go straight into that, what are your expectations with this team now in the USL? Because you've won a lot of trophies, but the USL is now a higher level, and there's better players, more teams too. So what are your expectations?
Yeah, we certainly know it's going to be a big jump. I mean, nobody's kidding themselves into thinking we're going to cruise through the way. And to be fair, our success in NISA, it never came easily. We won a lot of games, and in this last season, we were pretty dominant in the win-loss column, but they weren't blowout games. Every team we played gave as much as they took, and we had some good luck at the right times, and we know it didn't come easily. So we're going to try and remain as humble as we can and recognize that this is a significant jump. We're going to be, like you said, the talent of the players, the organization, the history of some of these franchises. We're up against a very different set of opponents now, and we're doing our best to prepare for that in the off season. I'm sure there'll be some significant roster changes, and organizationally, we're ramping up to be an even more professional outfit than we were before. But we know it's going to be tough. Once you get in that ring, the other team's going to be looking to knock you out, and it's a long season, a lot of games. That's another thing that I think will be a pretty significant difference from what we're used to. Quite a few more games over the course of the calendar year. So it's going to be tough. We're hopeful that we can be competitive and try and pick up where we left off in NISA, but we know we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you're a do-it-all guy. You're a father, you're a professional soccer team owner, and you're a teacher all at the same time. So how do you balance all that you do? Because I don't think most people in the world could ever be able to handle what you are doing right now.
Thanks. I've had a wonderful support network. My wife's always been extremely supportive and helpful, and especially when our children were really young. She always encouraged me to pursue this sort of side project that DCFC initially represented. Now it's certainly grown into much more than a side project. But the same can be said for my employer. I work at a small independent school. I coach soccer here, and my higher ups have always been really supportive of the idea that I'm also involved with Detroit City FC. And there's also been some really great synergy between those worlds. It's been awesome to raise my kids and being able to bring them to DCFC games. Me and my wife love taking them out, but game days are especially special for us. And I've also had the opportunity to introduce DCFC to a lot of my coworkers, a lot of my students, and the players that I coach. So there's been a lot of neat opportunity to kind of blend those worlds in a way that hasn't made it quite as difficult as what you might expect. And I should also mention that, as DCFC has grown, my role within the organization has kind of become less and less, whereas Sean and some of the other guys have made it their actual day job. I've kind of remained a teacher and a coach first, and a dad and a husband first, and then I give to DCFC whatever I can with the time that's left over. But as that's becoming less and less, those guys are picking up the slack for me. So leaning on my support network quite a bit.
Yeah,
but enjoying it quite a bit as well.
Yeah, you've done a fantastic job, and it's almost now 10 years, and most businesses don't survive past 3 years, let alone a sports organization. So what's been your favorite memory throughout this DCFC journey?
Great question. So many recent success stories on the field. When we launched our women's team, that was extra special. Sadly, that kind of happened when we were in the throes of COVID. So the actual recent launch where the women had the opportunity to play in front of fans was a really great day. I got to say, of all the moments, I do think that when COVID hit and we were kind of on the ropes and we opened up, a portion of the club's equity and did this community raise, and the fact that our supporters all came in and basically kind of saved the club and got us through that difficult time, that experience was especially rewarding and meaningful. And I think that was when I realized Maybe more so than I had in the past, just how much long-term potential this thing had. When we first started it, Sean asked me to be involved, and I kind of thought, yeah, great, this will be fun, and it'll probably fizzle after a little while, but we had this steady growth, and that was really exciting, but it wasn't until we had to kind of deal with all the challenges that COVID posed and got through those challenges with the help of our supporters. I think that's when I realized, wow, this thing's something special.
Yeah, it's amazing, and COVID has definitely impacted a lot of people and a lot of sports teams, and you see even professional teams struggling to survive. You see the NFL; they're more desperate for money than ever, and you see even in the NHL they have sponsors on the helmets. So it's just crazy how much COVID has impacted sports, and you guys and your fans have done a fantastic job at keeping this minor league team alive. And I know personally that the team I support in the NPSL, which is local, it's usually I would say 6 to 8 games, home games. It was only 2 or 3 this year because of COVID, and it was really a shame because 2 or 3 games. It's obviously I would like more than that, but it's at least it's 2 or 3 games and not 0. And to jump into the next question here, Detroit City FC has been very loud in the movement of promotion and relegation. As I mentioned in that Copa documentary, the Northern Guard, they were outspoken about it, and they said if MLS were to ever come to Detroit, they would never step foot in the stadium. So firstly, what are your thoughts about that pro rel in the MLS USL? And secondly, I know MLS has stated, Don Garber has stated that they are looking at Detroit for a potential expansion. Have they ever contacted you and the team in terms of going to the MLS?
Yeah, so as far as pro rel, I think my understanding of it, I think the way MLS is structured, I think it's kind of destined to forever remain a closed system. With the amount of money that owners have to buy in for these days, and it seems to always be going up. I don't know that they'd be interested in the possibility that their team could be relegated, within a year. And so what I was excited about with NISA and what I remain excited about with the move to USL Championship is that the people involved, and I think you interviewed the owner or the man in charge at USL, right?
The president.
It's really impressive, by the way.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that one. But I think they represent maybe the other side of the table where there's at least an open-mindedness to getting there one day. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, and a lot of things need to be in place first. But it seems like USL Championship has long-term vision that might include a more open, inclusive system for all, for levels around the league rather than just the division itself. And so I'm excited that we're continuing to be a part of that discussion in the landscape of soccer in America that is maybe open-minded toward that eventuality. I don't know that it'll ever happen. I know our supporters, by and large, would like a move like that, and it'd be exciting to be a part of that. But I think a lot of that is sort of remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it's...
As far as the...
sorry,
go ahead.
You could continue, my bad.
I was just going to say, and as far as the question about MLS coming to Detroit, there was a possibility of a bid 3 or 4 years ago. Didn't happen, and so that kind of bought us a little bit more runway to continue to grow and become more and more relevant. Fast forward to modern day, I think it's certainly a possibility that MLS could still come to Detroit. It seems like there's a few more cities that they're looking to incorporate. And I don't know, it's complicated for me. I love what we have so much. I think the supporters really love what we have so much, and so I wouldn't want to jeopardize that in any way. But if there was ever a possibility of keeping everyone happy and excited and growing into a league like MLS, I don't know. It's I look at a club like the Portland Timbers and the trajectory that they had and the way they've kind of maintained their identity in spite of a move up to the highest level. I think it's possible, but for now we're just kind of focusing on this move to USL Championship. I could see us being here and thriving for a really long time. So that's kind of my personal take on it. But I'm sure our supporters, as you mentioned, our supporters have pretty strong feelings right now. But kind of just looking forward to seeing what the next couple of years hold.
Yeah, I really like that standpoint that you said, and I'm not saying that just to really, just say because you're here, but I always feel like, too, the MLS owners, from my understanding, when they have the expansion fees, they buy into the league. And from a business standpoint, as much as I would like it as a fan, from a business standpoint, if you're buying into the league and you have the chance of getting relegated, it doesn't make sense, as you said, for those owners, and it's an investment. And the MLS is still really young. It's only 26, 27 years old, so there's still a lot of time, and I think time and just patience is virtue. So I think people are going to have to wait if they ever see it in America. And as you mentioned, that NISA, they're looking at doing it, and we'll see what happens. And just to wrap up here, we talked a lot about Detroit City FC today. Talked a lot about yourself and dove into your career. How rewarding is it to see this little side project that you started while maintaining your job as a math teacher just turn into this huge operation that it's become?
Yeah, I always kind of say, like, apart from my wife and children, I think it's the thing I'm involved with that of which I'm most proud. You know, I've really, it's kind of an unexpected last 10-year activity for me, and it's just been rewarding at every turn. I loved playing. I loved getting to know the guys in those early years, and I've loved maintaining a connection to them through my role as, like, player registrar and that kind of thing. I've loved watching us grow as a club to incorporate a women's team, and now we have a pretty significant youth arm to things. We got a youth program and a number of affiliate youth clubs as well. And just to see those things grow out of essentially a conversation between 5 guys who were interested in maybe starting a minor league team 10 years ago, it's kind of exceeded my expectations at every turn. So, yeah, I think it's an understatement to say I've been pleasantly surprised, but that's how I feel. And the fact that I've been able to maintain this life that I had kind of carved out for myself prior, and maintain the roles that I really enjoy as teacher and coach, and in the last 9 years as a father, it's been all the more special. And the fact that I get to kind of blend those worlds and share those experiences with the people I love, it's been awesome.
Yeah, and that's all I have for you, and I really appreciate it. And for the longest time, I've been looking for a USL team, because you mentioned how I interviewed Jake Edwards, who's the president, and he actually was nice enough to send me out a jersey, and I requested the OKC Energy jersey. So I get an Energy jersey, and then after I get it, they announced that they're not going to have a season next year, and it's not really looking likely that they're going to play. And then, meanwhile, the New York Red Bulls, too, never really supported them. I don't really want to support a second team. So I think I found my USL team today with Detroit City FC, and I'm just really happy to do this interview, and thanks again for all your time.
My pleasure. We'll have to swap that jersey out for you and make it official. We really appreciate the support, and thank you for helping us continue to, announce ourselves to the U.S. soccer landscape. And we're really excited to be part of the USL Championship, and hopefully we'll find a way for you to come catch a match.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and fingers crossed. I'd really love to see that Northern Guard and the players in action. And thanks again for all the time, and just best of luck with the next season.
Thanks so much, Chris.